Hello and welcome to another pizza game here, round one of the IMBA Cup, the second IMBA Cup, and this one between Tag Uber and Isen. It's nice to see people giving respect to Cybran, especially on a map like this. Quite difficult, don't have floating flak, don't have floating T2 tanks. Of course you do have jesters. And it looks like we got Brainwasher and Tag Rock in this game as well as observers, so anything they say the players can't actually see. And here we got Uber Seraphim, a really logical um, faction for this map. And since there's so many games, I'm actually going to play these pretty quick. Hopefully I don't miss too much. Waiting for Guile to come back so he can split these 50-50, so I don't have to do 8 games a week. But of course these are pretty good quality, so I can't be complaining too much. So we got Uber here, the Tech 1 bomber coming out. Nice aggressive play. This is basically the standard first air bomber move. 3 power generators. It's quite dangerous to do on such a large map. We see Isen here. He's got a navy planned, very early navy here. Of course Cybran here with no floating units have to be very strong navy. Here comes the bomber. He's got an engineer and a dodge from Isen. Excellent work from Isen. And 2 dodges, 2 great bombs, 2 great dodges. That engineer is ready to dodge as well. And here comes an air factory. You should see flak. Yeah, we finally do see flak, and here comes the bomber. 2 engineers killed. And even though Isen dodged a whole bunch of bombers, he basically saved himself there. There goes another. And this is actually adding up now. So 3 engineers killed by Uber. The bomber survives, and interceptor comes out. And it looks like naval factories for Isen on both sides here. So this bomber here is going to be very careful with this interceptor. Interesting that it decided not to go against this engineer. It must have seen this interceptor on the radar. Here comes a couple interceptors for Uber. Single interceptor for Isen, and of course Isen losing all those engineers is going to be a bit of a back foot here, and that should allow Uber come out with a couple drops. Only a single air factory. Looks like he's not taking a chance. He's really building up his forces around this bomber, looking for any more engineers. Of course here is actually quite a bit of rocks. Looks like Isen helped himself to those, and there goes the 4th Engie. Excellent for his bomber from Ubergeek, and here comes the single interceptor from Isen that had absolutely no hope. Excellent defense here on that bomber. Elsewhere we see the factory is complete, frigates coming out, and this engineer moving on to another piece of slice. Ubergeek really focused on that bomber, spamming a lot of interceptors, not expanding much at all. He's really only taking over these mass extractors at his base, upgrading a few mass extractors to Tech 2. ACU moving out to the Hydra, and a Jester. I didn't notice this Jester. Very dangerous situation though for this Jester. We see total domination here. Still only 4 kills for Uber, but a lot of air for Ubergeek. Although we do see a couple interceptors coming out, and a lone bomber from Uber might be taken out. Where is the Jester? Here's the Jester from Isen, looking things to kill. Still doesn't have any kills. He's going to spot the ACU, start shooting the ACU. Don't want to do that. Yeah, go after the engineers. That should be shut out of there very quickly. We see interceptors coming in now from Ubergeek. More bombers. This is the original bomber now. It looks like 5 kills. Excellent unit so far, the MVP of this game. In terms of expansion, you got to say a slight advantage to Isen. He did get into Navy on 2 sides. He's already on this island getting land factories. Uber is still confined. Well, nope, I lied. There's 1 factory for Uber now here, coming up on minute 7. So very even. Haven't seen nearly as many drops as we've seen in a typical pizza game, but I have no doubt we're going to see a whole bunch in this one, simply from the Cybran player is really going to have to rely on drops in Navy and things like that. Can't float. Most likely we'll see Wangers, but of course those are very easy to play against. You just go in the water and hide from them. Looks like a 2-kill bomber here from Isen. Looks like Isen with a bit of payback, taking air back and doing what Ubergeek was doing to him. And this is what you get when you get 2 excellent players. One thing about Isen is one of the only players who can consistently compete with players like Zoc on the ladder. Extremely good. And here we got some frigates coming in now from Isen. He's going to try to block off these choke points. We got to know the ACU for Ubergeek now on the island, perhaps a bit vulnerable. And this air fight, very important air fight, has gone to Ubergeek here, minute 9. And a transport from Isen, he forgot to put any units into it, so he's going to bring it back. Still pretty even numbers. Both players will have to respect each other's air. And here comes a drop. I knew we were going to see one of these sooner or later. And it looks like it's going to have multiple destinations. It's a very vulnerable island here for Isen. Still hasn't built any structures. Just some engineers. There are some factories in the back, so that should save him. But yeah, it looks like it'll be a successful drop from Ubergeek. And here's a drop from Isen. He's going to drop really on the front end of these slices. And these frigates got to start making Ubergeek worry. He doesn't want to just neglect Navy this whole time, because if we see this one of these go to Tech 2 and put a cruiser in the middle, make a very bad situation. Here's another engineer. He's going to pick up a mask extractor. This looks like it belongs completely to Isen, and we do have the successful drop of point defense. Will cause trouble, but it shouldn't be too much as long as Isen puts up enough artillery, and we do see artillery now moving out. You want to get early artillery on those engineers and you should be fine. And a bit of a fight here now. Ubergeek versus Isen. Isen taking this air fight. Very important to save this engineer, maybe get some factories, get a foothold, put pressure on Ubergeek here on this bottom slice, and actually a drop coming in. A very nice drop. First one air, then put some units in. Looks like it's got some tanks. It's a whole bunch of manti. This is going to be an excellent drop to raid. A raiding drop there. Not much going on this left side slice, which is not surprising. The ACU is there, and actually T2 now coming out. We see T2 floating flag. This is what Voodoo needed so much, and Ubergeek goes for it right away. That's one of the greatest things about Seraphim. They got T2 floating flag. Of course, Aeon is even worse in that respect with T2 floating shields. Never want to neglect that. It looks like it's a nice defensive work here from Isen. Not much trouble from Ubergeek. Should be able to take over the slice. So it's going to be cut very evenly. 3 slices each, but a really big naval domination from Isen. And we gotta say, not really sure what the economic stats are, but a big advantage to Isen. Controlling the Navy, has a lot of air. It's really hard to see who's got more, but very active with drops, Isen. Did some raiding in this area. Now he's going to raid. We actually see some engineers already in place capturing mask extractors, making radars. And this is going to be very aggressive, fly over some flak, and of course T2 flak, no chance for that drop. A bit ambitious. I'm really anticipating T2 Navy. And is that going to be? Yes, we got T2 Navy being planned for Isen in the middle, minute 15. And this is one problem that Seraphim poses, floating arty. It's not that they can be very good against units. Manta actually excellent choice against artillery. That these will kill your mask extractors extremely quickly. And you see with that micro, they actually have some success against this Manta. Get a bunch of floating arty all over your base, you're going to start losing mask extractors. More drops coming in, and this is going to be a very nice drop. Tech 2 transport from Ubergeek full of artillery, so wherever that goes, there's going to be a lot of problems. Got to keep an eye. We got some Tech 2 here, Wangers. Here's a Tech 2 land factory here from Isen, minute 16. And yeah, this is massive air spam. Tech 2 power ready for Ubergeek. This is great looking at T2 factory. You might see gunships. It's one thing we haven't seen yet. Cybran, excellent gunships. Seraphim, also very good gunships. And here's his drop going along the edge of the map. Let's see where that goes. It's going to go behind the main base. Some excellent targets. T2 mask extractors. Okay, remember the ACU is still back at home. Might be able to put out some fires, but there's a lot of good targets. Let's see if this is still just Tech 1, but 2 T2 mask extractors here most likely will be killed. And if those can get into the main base here, it would be a lot of trouble for Isen. Not too much stuff going on. Oh, here comes a cruiser now. This is huge for Isen. This is a very good unit. Really nothing short of T2 air will do. and perhaps that's what we actually see. T3 air now. And we got to look at that drop. So the drop is successful. We already see a couple mask extractors killed, actually 2 T2 mask extractors. It would be nice to see some of these go over in this area. But now T2 gunships from Isen. Best way to put out fires. And this artillery actually gets through. So at least 2 mask extractors killed. Excellent work here from Uber, splitting up his arty, maximizing the effect. Looks like a T1 mask extractor will be destroyed. Nice drop from Uber Geek. But this cruiser really is huge, getting out with 11 kills. And we gotta remember, Cybran can make destroyers that can go on land, and a counter drop now. A Tech 2 drop from Isen drops off a whole bunch of Manti, taking out, upgrading a mask extractor. That was about halfway done. That's always tragic to lose those. And we'll see plenty of units to defend for Uber Geek, however. But now this cruiser really wouldn't want to leave that without an escort. Keep a lot of air next to it. Because now Uber with the Tech 3 air, you make a couple gunships or a couple torpedo bombers would be a very bad situation for this cruiser. Of course, Sera from torpedo bombers are notoriously bad. And that was an excellent move there from Isen, taking out a weaker force of air from Uber Geek. Bit of a mistake perhaps. I definitely see numbers for Isen. Isen attacking Navy, drops, and air. This is great to see from Isen. I'd really like to see Cybran triumph in this fashion, but a bit of a fight here that we haven't been really looking at. See this T2 flag, some T2 Yanzis. T2 versus T1, but there is a T2 factory here for Isen as well, so he should be able to defend. Really the main story is the cruiser now, 23 kills. What will Uber Geek do? And of course drops. That was the successful T2 drop with Manti from Isen going after T2 mask extractors. Seems like a pretty even battle here on the top left. But now gunships coming out for Isen, so Isen does have the air control. Of course with T2 flak that shouldn't be too much problem for Uber Geek. You got to get a T2 factory on this island. He does not have that. He got another drop coming up and some ASF. But now total air domination. Yet another drop coming in. This is excellent work from Isen. This is really what this game really should be like all the time, with competent players doing the right things. Excellent drop. 3 T2 transports, a whole bunch of units moving in, putting pressure. But it looks like Uber Geek clawing his way back in terms of air. We do see a couple ASF here, and suddenly no more air control for Isen. Isen should be working on T3 air as well. He's still at Tech 1, a single Tech 2 air factory. And not too much T2 power, we gotta say. Actually T3, going T3 with land. A lot more power for Uber Geek. Uber Geek has done a lot more tech in T3 power. That's very scary. That is very scary if that's what Isen saw when he scouted. Even though Isen does have Navy, he has just lost air. Put a lot of good pressure, but way more power for Uber Geek. Whereas there's not even T2 power yet for Isen, unless he's got it somewhere else. Yes, he's got T2 power somewhere else. So it would be very surprising here, minute 24, if Isen did not have T2 power. And that's actually really good to see. Important buildings on 2 different slices, although you never want to lose this slice. Very vulnerable. This is where Isen's power is. Of course, in terms of T3 power, a lot more possibilities for Uber, and now we are seeing strat bombers. 23 kills in this cruiser. This could be some of the last moments for this cruiser before this T3 air takes it out. Uber actually working on a chicken now. At 25th minute, a chicken. And it looks like Uber has a very good economy here at 25. Look, he's got plus 280, plus 7,000 power. Isen plus 180, so a big difference, only plus 3,000 power. A huge advantage in terms of eco for Uber Geek. So all those drops from Isen, we've seen him play so much better. He's actually gaining map control. They haven't really paid off. This is one of the things that happens in such a large map. If you can defend a large fraction of your base and bring that up to really high tech, you'll still be successful. Of course, now we see bricks coming in on transports. Let's look at a nice assault here on this bottom slice from Isen, but strat bombers now coming in. And this is big trouble for Isen. One thing you can think about doing is spam a whole bunch of cruisers. He's gone destroyers instead of cruisers, and perhaps that was a mistake. A couple cruisers and spread out all over this map. Excellent counters to any kind of T3 bombers. The drops, T2 drops here from Isen on all the different slices. And here's the power of cruiser. We saw that cruiser take out a whole bunch of gunships. That's really what the advantage that Isen's got to take. If he doesn't take that advantage, he will be in trouble. Now we see these bricks. A brick with 28 kills, the other was 16. He did a lot of killing in this area. A lot of killing, but now they're going to be killed by these gunships. No defense against those gunships from Isen. More bricks coming in on transports, and another cruiser for Isen. He needs as many cruisers as he can possibly get. There's a destroyer now coming in here on the left side. Another bricks continue to roll through. These are actually Mantai versus Yoshevas. Looks like the bricks were taken out by the gunships. That's tragic. Destroyer. Where's the chicken? The chicken has been finished. Very quick chicken there from Ubergeek here before minute 30. And this will be trouble for Isen. He can't possibly defend against it. Not clear if he knows it's there. But it looks like he doesn't. He would probably move those engineers. That's going to take out all of Isen's power. And that's going to doom all this air production from, actually no, some T3 power now for Isen. But if he has any hope, he's got to start making spiders. And now some scouts coming in for Ubergeek. He just scouted the area in front of the chicken. Always nice to show your experimental what it's about to face. Multiple cruisers here, 45 kills for one of them. Still a good position, but now gunships versus cruisers. And you can see with numbers, cruisers don't really stand a chance. You'd need maybe 5 of those, and then it would be very hard to take out, especially with stealth. But only 2 cruisers do get taken out. Big losses now for Isen, 47, almost 50 kills now for the chicken. Losses of a lot of T1 factories, a T2 factory, plenty of T2 power, and we should see a spider started. Here's a spider from Isen, but we got to remember with Cybran, if this chicken gets a couple more kills, if it goes to 75, it'll be a lot more powerful than the spider. So it'll take a spider plus a lot of other assault units to take that down. And if Ubergeek scouts, he might as well just kill off this entire island, get as much veterancy as he can. No reason to engage the spider. So we've seen Ubergeek in this game here, minute 32, play excellent defense. So very good aggression from Isen, but on a map like this, looks like playing defense is better. Look at all this T3 power. Really not much hope to come back against a player with such a great eco. Not much chance. Here's another chicken coming in for Ubergeek. And actually Ubergeek sending a spider in. He's just going to sit here, not attack. Spider is completed. And we might see the chicken versus spider battle here. Minute 34. And this spider needs assistance. 45,000 health versus 80,000. So definitely needs some help for the spider. We see the bricks coming in. And the chicken thinks better of it. He's like, well, might as well sit in the ocean and get some more health. We just saw that scout there from Ubergeek. Excellent work from Ubergeek. He's always very good with his air. Still some cruisers alive for Isen. Here's a drop from Uber. We saw some units following up. Some T2 cleaning up on the slice. Ubergeek will claim it for himself. This spider is chasing the chicken underneath the water, but I guess we can say the spider can use torpedoes, but it'll take a lot of torpedoes to kill this chicken. I believe it's actually gaining health even though it's getting hit. See any more plans? Another spider planned. A lot of T3 power for Isen as well. So one thing that Isen can do, maybe perhaps since he's pausing so many units, with Cybran you always have the option of a teleport laser. It's really a desperation move, but perhaps he's thinking of it quite early, that way you can actually get it. I do not know where his ACU is, but it would be nice to see a telemaser. But now we see 2 chickens in the middle from Ubergeek. It was such a great economy. He's working on his third. And when you see two chickens in the middle and all you got is a spider, you're in a lot of trouble. No chance for air control. And we gotta say T2 flag here in this game from Ubergeek haven't really played too much of a role. It was basically Ubergeek taking air back with his T3 air and hasn't really looked back since. The two chickens walking back, the spider probably gotta go after Ubergeek's ACU, gotta sneak up on him somehow. No reason to try to play defense in situations like this. More successful drops from Ubergeek. He's gonna make sure that slice stays his. Some trouble here on the other slice for Isen. Isen losing map control very rapidly here. Gunships on this right slice. We do see a lot of T1 flag, but that won't work. Main slice is in danger of two chickens. We see another spider being built. But where is... It's interesting. Ubergeek deciding to make point defense. It would already be a pretty good situation against a laser with these two shields and all that build capacity, but he did just make a whole bunch of point defense. But where is Isen's ACU? That's the question. We see Isen scouting Ubergeek's commander. A lot of flak around his commander, very well defended. And where is the spider? Have not seen the spider. We see the chickens from Ubergeek now in the main base, basically killing off all the T3 power. If you can kill the T3 power, you cannot telemaser. You can't teleport. And that looked like it was Isen on a transport or something of that sort. I don't believe it was actually a teleport, but it may have been. But he died immediately, right where Ubergeek was. So a nice battle between two great players, but Ubergeek played a little more eco, played a little better defense, less aggressive, and then made it count with T3 air and eventually the chickens. So hopefully people enjoyed it.